Professional Christian Coaching Institute is exactly what its name says that it is. It's a professional training school, college level or graduate level, adult training. However, the nice news is that there's no test. The average student that we train is somewhere between ages 35 and 65. So it's kind of a middle season of life type training for most people. But that's just kind of our typical student. Usually our students are college educated already and or established in a profession, and they're in a season of transition themselves and seeking to diversify some of their skills base, some of their income. But this is a professional Christian coach training school. It is distinctly Christian, and the founding scripture upon which we're built is this from Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. The purposes of a man's heart are deep waters, but a man of understanding draws them out. The reason that we like that scripture so well, there are many that we could have chosen that apply very beautifully to coaching, but we love the concept of there being things that are placed within each of our hearts, our being, things that were, as scripture says, the gifts and the call of the Lord, which are irrevocable. It is, among other roles, we believe the role of a Christian coach to help draw out those things. They were placed there by God. We don't get a blueprint. We don't do an instruction manual. So discerning those is part of the work of what we see a Christian coach doing. And by the way, that is whether they're working with a Christian client or a non-Christian client. We certainly don't make improper use of the professional relationship. But when we're working with a client, coaching is about reaching into that inner being, as it were, and drawing out things that are there, unique giftings, callings, bits and pieces of vision, dreams, longings, hunger, that kind of stuff, and all of it rooted in core values, things that matter most to the person. So this is a beautiful scripture for understanding what we really believe distinctly Christian coaching is all about. Our motto at the school is raising the standard, and just raising the standard of professionalism in this field. The word coaching is, right now anyway, in our industry, an unregulated term. That means that there is no licensing. It's not regulated like, say, psychotherapy. You can't call yourself a psychotherapist unless you are licensed as a psychotherapist. Anybody can use the term coach, and they can call what they're doing coaching, no matter what definition of coaching they're operating on. And a lot of it just sounds like a renaming of other forms of people helping they've already been doing, such as consulting or mentoring and such. We have adopted the professional definition of the International Coach Federation, the standard that we believe is kind of the gold standard for this profession. That's what the International Coach Federation has worked very hard for the last 15 years to define and to codify in terms of a set of skills and a code of ethics. So we're aligned with those standards, and we're seeking as Christians to raise the standard of professionalism, to say, well, okay, it's not a regulated term right now. Anybody can use it to mean anything they want, but there is a standard that we think is a higher development of a new profession that can have radical impact in the life of the church and therefore in the world. And it's to those standards that we are aligning and training. With that foundation, we have also identified 4 pillars upon which we've founded the school here. But the first of these pillars is sound Christian faith. This is an ecumenically oriented Christian program. It is not identified with any particular denomination. Or you'll find it honored in our training. You'll also find it integrated into our training throughout. The second pillar is strong coaching competencies. I referred to the International Coach Federation a bit ago. I'll be referring to them several times throughout. The International Coach Federation, the ICF, has established 11 key skills that when they speak of coaching, when they use their definition of coaching, they say, this is what we mean by coaching. These are the skills we want to see a supposedly professional and certifiable coach practicing. Boom, 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 boom. They have 11 of these, and they call them the core competencies. The core or key or central things that they want to see proficiency in a trained and certifiable coach. So we have aligned the school with those competencies. Third pillar is solid business practices. The third pillar is, it seems to me, one of the most important for the likely success of someone that we train in coaching, in making it likely that they'll still be around doing coaching, privately building their caseload and such, 2, 3, 5, 10 years later. Because if we equip outstandingly well from a Christian worldview that's very honoring of your faith and gets you very excited about going out and serving clientele, but you can't get the phone to ring, if we don't help you to think about how you can use this as your foundation for building a very diversified, extremely portable business, and we can work virtually via telephone and internet, we are living in an age that is unprecedented in terms of the ability for us to be used by God all around the world with people in very diverse settings if we attend to solid business practices. If we help the people that we've trained to actually set up and run successful business, we are very focused on making sure that you have the greatest likelihood of succeeding in that regard. And then finally, that leads us to this fourth pillar. We are big on a supportive professional community. This is a business that is largely done virtually, meaning by telephone and internet. That's nice. You work from home. You can work on cell phone. You can work while you're on vacation. You can travel and see the grandkids. You can do all kinds of things with it portably. But that also means that it can sometimes feel lonely. And like, gee, I'm just out here by myself. I'm a very relational person. I enjoy my connection with my clients, but wow, I wish I felt like I was more part of something larger. Well, you are. At this school, we have many hundreds of people, actually more than 1,000 that I trained through the previous school we ran, and now nearly 500 that we have through this new school all around the world. And we meet on the internet in a password-protected Facebook group that we foster. We meet bi-weekly on a live telebridge just for our community. It's password-protected, where we all focus on business building and sharing of resources. We get together at conferences on a regular basis. So there is a very supportive professional community for you here in addition to these other key pillars. We are, as I said earlier, built to the highest standards, and so I've addressed some of these, but I just want to underscore them for you. We are rock solid in our ecumenical Christian faith, and your Christian worldview is going to be honored and integrated throughout this training. What I mean by that is that if you were training in a secular program, you often find yourself trying to be very careful, kind of call it politically correct in the way that you phrase or word your questions, because you might unintentionally step on somebody's toe, be offensive, you know. Sometimes in this tolerance society of ours, everything is tolerated except traditional Christian values and morals and such. So that's not going to be an issue for you here. This is a very safe, supportive Christian environment. But understand, we are training Christians who want to be professional coaches. We are not training coaches who happen to be Christians. We are not training Christians to only work with other Christians. This is the second point here. We're equipping Christians to coach both Christian and non-Christian or secular clientele. It does not matter to us how the Lord has called you in terms of positioning and marketing your coaching services. All of our faculty members also are certified by the International Coach Federation, so they are strong in their faith and they are aligned with those highest professional standards we talked about a moment ago. All training is aligned with ICF definition of coaching, core competencies, code of ethics. These I've already addressed, and all of our training is facilitated live. Now, this is important for the International Coach Federation. Not all coach training is done live. There's a good bit of stuff you may have looked at on the internet, in fact, some of you may have trained through it, that is done via DVD or a pre-recorded downloadable kind of a format or some kind of a workbook or something or a combination thereof. All of our training is live, and the International Coach Federation only recognizes live training. That doesn't have to be live face-to-face, and we're doing that via a high-definition telebridge line. This is actually the format in which our training occurs. What that means for you is you do not have to travel. You do not have to take time off of work and do whatever else is necessary to get where the training is. You don't have those expenses. You don't have hotels, meals, transportation, and it also means the same for our faculty, which allows us to keep our fees lower. This training is all live, meets ICF standards, and yet you can do it on your cell phone in your car. You can get a cell signal or an internet signal. You can join the classes. You do not have to have a computer screen in front of you. It's highly interactive and integrative of diverse learning styles. Our program allows for real-time instructions, but it is interactive. But you can ask live questions throughout the training any time of your instructors. In the classes, you will have opportunity for your instructors to do role-play demonstrations. In fact, in our introductory course, The Essentials of Coaching, you have 2 instructors. And so they can role-play coaching demos with you. They can say, well, this week you read about X, Y, and Z. Let's hear what that sounds like. And they will do for you a live coaching demonstration of those skills in practice, and then the class can debrief it, powerfully add to what you already read about prior to the class. We do case presentations. You'll again have read about certain skills in application, and your instructors will be able to say, well, you know, last week I was coaching a client and blah, blah, blah. They will be able to illustrate, put flesh on the bones of the material with cases because all of your instructors are practicing coaches themselves. You're going to have supervised practice coaching in the class. That means that while you're in the classroom along with everybody else, again, it's live and interactive, they will begin tapping you to do what we call round-robin coaching. Now, this isn't immediately at the beginning when nobody is sure what they're doing. But as the course goes on, the intro course, the essentials of coaching, you'll be tapped, and you and 2 or 3 others will be lined up to do round-robin coaching. You'll coach someone around a real situation for 3-4 minutes, then you just pass the baton to the next person, they pick up and they coach. So you're doing it right from as early on in the beginning as we can start that. We really believe that the real learning of anything starts when you begin doing it. So supervised practice coaching is a key piece. There are, of course, assigned readings weekly and exercises and journaling. This is an at-home study kind of a program. The intro course, we always tell people, figure about 5 hours a week that you are either doing readings and or journaling and exercises, and there is a peer coaching element of this, an external lab where you meet with 2 other persons from the class via a private telebridge. These are free. We help you set that up, and the 3 of you meet like a study buddy group. You're peer coaching each other. You're processing the readings. You're processing the class discussions. So, again, there's that feeling instantly of community. I'm not here by myself or just one person in a large class of 20-some-odd people. I am connecting at a deeper level through those private password-protected Facebook groups and through these lab experiences where I'm practicing again and getting to know others in the profession. You also, of course, have access to your instructors via that same kind of a private Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook, we'll help you get set up there and help you to know how to keep your privacy guarded there and yet open up that incredible opportunity for networking that form of social media provides. We also then, after the introductory course, have a series of other courses, each of which can be taken in an a la carte kind of a fashion. You do not have to take them in order. You can mix and match them in any sequence. But understand, when you finish that introductory course, you are already equipped to begin coaching. In fact, the majority of our students are coaching privately with private paying clients by the time they get done with that intro course. And you can go on to these extensive supervised live coaching advanced practicums. If you choose to take those courses, coaching skills development is a 20-hour practicum in which you're in a very small class, no more than 9 students. And all you're doing over these 20 hours is lots of live, supervised, ICF-aligned professional-grade coaching. And you're getting feedback. You're getting verbal as well as written feedback on an ICF-aligned observation form, the 11 core competencies. These are what you're doing well. These are where your learning edges are. You're hearing your peers do that and get their feedback. You strengthen your skills base so much through a live experience like that. And so we have then an advanced one on top of the coaching skills development called Coaching Skills Mastery. You must have been coaching at least 25 hours private clients and have taken the skills development class before you're plugged into this one. In this class, it works very much like the development, except we actually bring in real clients. Instead of coaching each other now in the class, we are bringing in real clients, volunteers, who are being coached by the class week after week after week, same client. And so you get to grow with that client as they're growing through their material. They have a different coach each week, but wow, what a powerful learning experience. This is the kind of stuff that radically differentiates this kind of training from some other kind of a weekend training program or an intensive that you do somewhere where you don't get near this kind of practice and growth over time. You get verbal and written feedback, as I said, in these, coupled with then a private oral examination. Now, it's pass-fail. You're not graded on these things. So the oral exam is the same kind of thing you would have been doing in class anyway. So you're familiar with it by the time you get to the oral. But it's you and your instructor and one other of our instructors. And you're coaching privately and, again, being evaluated according to that same ICF observation form you've been using here. When you pass that, we're able to give a letter of recommendation for you that you can use when you apply to the International Coach Federation for their certification should you choose to do that. Free business building bridge calls are a key piece of what's built into this idea of us building a supportive professional community. We call these the Christian Coaches Power Lunch. We meet over the lunch hour, but we're sharing lunch together and a power lunch, just like you would in the business world. And we're all meeting on a bridge and swapping resources, struggles, questions. The private password-protected Facebook group that I mentioned again is called the Christian Coaches Power Lunch Facebook group. And you are on there with several hundred of your fellow students all around the world and our faculty. And when persons pose questions on there that are bigger than what could be answered in a few sentences, that sets our agenda for the next live bridge call. As I've said before, if you've got the questions, chances are several other people have it as well. So we're always helping you grow. There's a confidential prayer ministry that we have here at the school. Any prayer request that any of our students or faculty have is able to be submitted privately. It only goes to that prayer team, and Rachel and myself, we are serious about lifting up our people, and that's not just in their businesses. That is in anything that's going on with you. We're holistic beings, and what goes on in our personal life affects our professional and ministry life and vice versa. So anything that needs prayer, that support is there for our people. We have discounted mentor coaching packages. Some of you who've looked at certification know that there comes a point at which you have to have had some mentor coaching. That's like supervision, one-on-one. Well, you can get that at a discounted rate from any of our faculty members who are ICF certified at the PCC or MCC level. We do free live call-ins once a week. Some of you have probably attended those, or you've listened to the podcast. I address all things Christian coaching, including live demonstrations that we call masterful coaching. We do live coaching and we debrief them. We do calls on marketing. We do calls on technology. Anything having to do with this field as it grows in the church, that's what those weekly broadcasts are for. Again, these are all free services that we provide, and those are open to anyone who's interested in the field, not just our students. The school itself, what this says up here, is based on the classic text, Christian Coaching, by Dr. Gary Collins. Many of you have read that or are reading through it now. You're familiar with Dr. Gary Collins, often called the father of Christian counseling. Well, Gary, when he resigned as president of the American Association of Christian Counselors more than a decade ago, transitioned into the field of Christian coaching. He's a dear friend of mine, and this is a quote from his first edition of the text, Christian Coaching. He said, "More than any other person, Christopher McCluskey has introduced me to coaching and has been a prime encourager as I've taken formal training, grown as a coach trainer, and written this book." Gary, actually, I'm humbled to say he asked me to co-author that book with him. I was developing the training program at the time and could not commit the time to that, but I helped a great deal with that book. He cites me throughout it. He interviews me extensively in a couple of different sections in Christian coaching. So if you're familiar with that text, again, that is a foundational text for us. That's the seminal text for our intro course, The Essentials of Coaching. This is a second statement from Gary, and I put it on here because it's really an endorsement of the school here. Gary says, "I can gladly recommend this time-tested, solidly Christian, telephone-based coach training program. You train in this school at your own pace. All of our classes are available to you in an a la carte fashion. But understand, you are not signing up for the whole enchilada when you come into this school. This school is designed to allow you to take as much or as little as you want to, whenever you want to. You can take 2, 3, 4 classes simultaneously after the intro course, of course, the foundational course, the Essentials of Coaching. That's the front door. Everybody goes through that unless you train through some other ICF-aligned school. But once you have that foundation, you can mix and match. You can take 2, 3, 4 classes at the same time, or you can take a class and then stop for 6 months or a year and circle back and take any other class in any other order you want. They all build upon each other, interface with each other. They all accumulate towards certifications of various types. So that's the beauty of it. It's built in a very, very flexible model. Also recognize that the introductory course, all by itself, the Essentials of Coaching, that's a 30-hour class, all by itself, it serves as a standalone launch into the field. That's why this title up here is a rapid launch into the field. Well, what we do is in our intro course, that accelerated 30-hour course where you're doing all of that reading and journaling and practice coaching with your peers in those labs and having demonstrations in the class and case presentations and live Q&A and supervised coaching in the class, when you're having that kind of an immersion training over a 4-month period, you are very well equipped to go ahead and hang your shingle out and start coaching. The next point up there, more than 50% of our essential students have paying clients by the time they complete that 4-month course. Understand, they've not completed all the courses. They're not certified, don't have to be, not our intent. They're moving in that direction, and they are making income. They're gaining back money from their investment now, rather than having to wait a long time before they finally roll out their grand opening. Our training, you're going to be training with some of that says up there, some of the most highly recognized and influential Christian coaches in the field. Fran LaMattina, one of our instructors, she teaches our leadership course, coaching work teams. Fran has served on the core faculty of Andy Stanley's North Point Community Church in Alpharetta, Georgia, for the last little more than a decade. She has a rock-solid background in a Fortune 100 company in an executive position before that. She was the VP of Marketing for Ronald Blue & Company. She helped put them on the map and got the first several of Ron Blue's books published. She knows business and she knows ministry. She's outstanding, and she is one of our coaches here teaching our leadership and work team classes. Gary Wood was recently the president of the Christian Coaches Network. He's one of our instructors. Susan Whitcomb, a best-selling author of several books. She has 7 books just on career search, resume writing, interviewing skills. She teaches our career coaching course. She's actually president of another coach training school called Career Coach Academy. And so we're privileged to have her serve on our faculty because she's one of the best of the best. That's who you have here as your instructors. Jory Fisher. She was one of the original founders of the law program at Liberty University. Jory teaches our ethics course. Very good person to have teaching ethics and liability risk management in coaching. We're serious about the professional standards and making sure our people don't get themselves in trouble unintentionally. Kim Avery is arguably the best-known, most highly visible marketing coach in the Christian coaching world. In fact, even to some degree in the secular coaching world. She teaches our marketing course, Effective Marketing in the 21st Century. Brian Pettit. Brian is a third-generation pastor, a missionary, an overseer of missionaries. He has a master's degree in cross-cultural missions, and he is teaching cross-cultural and missionary coaching. This is the caliber of instructors that we're bringing in. When you're training, they're not just people who we've brought in. Since I've been training for well over a decade, I got to pick the cream of the crop, and God has blessed our socks off as a result. You're the recipients of that. This is a fun quote that I just had to put up here. It's one of my favorite endorsements. Dan Miller, many of you know him. He's a New York Times best-selling author of 48 Days to the Work You Love and a few other texts, No More Dreaded Mondays and Passion and Wisdom. But he says, Christopher McCluskey is the father of Christian coaching, and PCCI is the mother of all training programs. I love his sense of humor. Dan has the #1 podcast on iTunes for coaching and for career. We offer you flexible payment plans. There are many different payment plans for each of our courses. If you've been to the website, you will see those. You can choose whichever one works best for you. You can literally spread some of these courses out over 2 years if you want to, for very, very minimal administrative fee. To finance that, no interest that we're charging on, just an administrative fee to spread your tuitions out. That's because the old adage is, it takes money to make money. Well, yeah, that's true. But the beauty here is because we spread out your payment plans, it doesn't take very much money. And long before you have paid off the course, you may be making more money from the private clients you are securing than what you owe on the classes. It's not at all unusual for people to come back and pay off one of the payment plans they chose earlier because they're doing so well now in their business. Lots of flexibility here. We will tailor-make a payment plan for you. If you have some kind of special needs, some kind of a thing that's delaying monies right now, anything that you need us to work with, let us know. And I promise you we will try to accommodate that. We do not want finances to be what would hinder somebody from following what they otherwise believe is God's calling into this profession. You've heard we're committed to your long-term success. We offer business training courses. You've seen on the website The Accidental Entrepreneur. That tongue-in-cheek name is my way of acknowledging that most of us people persons don't really want to be business persons. We're in this field because we know God's gifted and called us to work with people, and okay, I get it. If I'm going to be a coach, I guess I got to set up a business. Okay, what do I have to do? This is a let me take you by the hand and get you set up quickly and well in a sequential, sensible, fast fashion. I want you to succeed in spades. I want you to do really well in the field. So the Accidental Entrepreneur is there. It's purely volunteer. You can opt for it or not. But if you want that kind of a resource, if you're scared of the business side of this or the marketing side of this, that's there. The same way with the class that Kim Avery teaches. I mentioned it earlier, Effective Marketing in the 21st Century. We're going to help you develop a tailored marketing plan to the clients you're trying to attract and to the way that you market best. And we have that Christian Coaches Power Lunch Bridge call that I told you about in the private Facebook groups. Those are free. Those are always there. Anything you run into, we will support you in that. And you have those free live calls that I talked about in the podcast. Specialty classes help you diversify and niche or brand your services. We have classes that you can take anytime you want to on doing group coaching, expanding beyond your one-on-one skills, coaching for spiritual formation if you feel called into that niche, career coaching, as I mentioned earlier, leadership coaching, coaching work teams in ministry or in business settings, cross-cultural and missionary coaching I mentioned. We are always developing other niched classes depending on what our students are saying they want to specialize in. I'm going to give you a couple of our endorsements because we are equipping many of the ministry and parachurch ministry teams that you're familiar with throughout the world. Some of the biggest names that you would recognize are household names for us as Christians, Christian radio shows and ministries that you support with your tithes and such. We are training their leaders throughout the world. This is a quote from Mark Rutter. He's the National Director of Human Resource at Campus Crusade for Christ. He said after we trained their entire national team, 12 of their people out of their Orlando office, he says, I came away with new skills in listening and asking appropriate questions, which are developing greater trust and helping our leaders come up with effective solutions to the problems they face. This is for all of their ministries throughout the United States. He says, ultimately, I will now focus more of my energy in leadership development on helping our leaders become better coaches. Whether they ever even set up coaching practices, right? This is just, he gets what coaching is about and the impact that it can have on ministry. Here's another quote from North Point Community Church, Andy Stanley's large church down there in Atlanta. Bill Willits is the director of group life there. We trained the core faculty, many of the core faculty at North Point, about a dozen or so of them. He says with more than 6,000 adults and students in small groups, we're constantly looking for material that will help our staff team learn together, develop as leaders, and better coach our coaches. That's what they call their small group ministry people as coaches. Again, you can use the term for whatever. But he says we're needing to coach those coaches better. This training has provided this and much more. It's challenged the way we view our role as leaders. In other words, there's been a paradigm shift. North Point is rated as the second most influential church in the world right now, according to some polls. And he's saying this challenge the way we view our role as leaders. I highly recommend it. I'll leave you with this one. This is from Halftime Ministries. Many of you are familiar with them. Bob Buford's huge ministry based on his mega best-selling book, Halftime, Moving from Success to Significance, right? PCCI, that's our school, is the only firm we trust to train our halftime coaches throughout the world. We're privileged to play that role, training all of their coaches that they have throughout the world, working with primarily executives who are in the second half of life and seeking to build upon the success they've had in business by pouring more into important ministries. Well, let me say this then in closing this all out. If you pray it through, you feel a peace about it, pull the trigger. Remember, you are not committing to the whole enchilada. You are starting. You're saying, Lord, I think this is right. This looks like the right direction. It's a minimal commitment up front. Here we go, and I will continue to discern as you show me the light along the path. That's what I would encourage you to do at this point. It's exciting times. This is an exploding field, and we are right on the cusp of the wave here. Blessings to you all.